Hello and welcome to my garden. I'm Delisa Renideo and welcome to my channel, Saying Yes to Life. Now you might think that when saying yes to life means always being open, always saying yes to people, to opportunities, to experiences, but that's not necessarily the case. There's a deeper truth. Sometimes the most life-affirming thing we can say is no. And I don't mean saying no from fear, not from anger, but from love, actually. Love for our life, love for our own energy, and for our own values. Because our life is a gift, and how we care for it, how we speak, how we think, how we eat, how we choose, these choices reflect whether we truly honor that gift of life. So every time we say no to something that doesn't serve who we truly are, we're actually saying yes to a life that does serve who we are. So many of us, when we were young, were taught to be kind and generous. Those are good things. To avoid conflict and to be agreeable and to be nice. Again, those are all nice things, but too often choosing those things can come at a cost. We learned to say yes even when it didn't feel right. We said yes even when we were exhausted, even when we were hurting. But if we keep saying yes to things that deplete us, we're saying no to ourselves. And that's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. I have come across this understanding more deeply in my life just recently. And so this is one of the things that I'm working on myself. Self-abandonment is not saying yes to life. What if saying no, nicely, gently, clearly, lovingly, is actually how we can say yes to life at times? So let's take a look at some loving no's in daily life, some healthy ways to say no, and how these choices can be acts of self-love, self-respect, and alignment with who we really are and want to grow into. So, for instance, saying no to unhealthy foods or drinks. Now, for many years, I've followed a very healthy vegan diet, and I've often been asked, don't you feel deprived? And I kind of have to laugh inside because the answer is no, absolutely not even a little bit deprived. Because saying no to the foods that I've chosen to leave behind is not a loss. It's an expression of love. A love for my body, a love for my health, a love for the animals, and for the life that I want to live. It's one way that I honor the gift of this life that I've been given. Another way to say no is to say no to following the crowd. Because, sometimes we look around and we realize the crowd is going in a direction that doesn't feel right. And in that moment, we have a choice. Do we follow just to fit in? Or do we pause and then say no? Saying no to what's popular isn't rebellion. It's trusting ourselves. It's respecting your own inner compass. So that might mean not joining in gossip. It might mean saying no to social media overload. It might mean choosing to be quiet when the world is so loud. Each one is a yes to your own integrity. And another way this looks is saying no to overscheduling yourself. We live in a world that's so easy to be overscheduled. We often say yes to things because we feel guilty or we're afraid that we'll let someone down. But when we say yes to everything, we say no to resting, to creativity, to just experiencing our presence. A lovingly spoken no creates space, not only on your schedule, but in your soul. No to overfilling your time. Yes to spaciousness. Yes to being able to just breathe. Yes to being here now. Sometimes this looks like saying no to old beliefs. And these are some of the most powerful no's we'll ever say. And these are internal. They're beliefs that we have perhaps had planted in us many, many years ago when we were babies, children, by our families, by our society, our culture. And maybe those beliefs served us at one time, but now they no longer support us. These could be beliefs like, I'm not good enough. I have to earn love. I'm too old to change. I have to say yes or I'll be rejected. But what if we paused and thought about it and said, no, that's not true for me anymore. So something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is called The Work by Byron Katie. It's in her book, Loving What Is. And I talked about this in a previous episode, but it really comes into play again here. When we come across a belief or a story that maybe we don't feel very good about, we can ask 4 questions. Is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? And how do I react when I believe that thought? And who would I be without that thought? Every time we do this, we go through this process, we're saying no to limitation and yes to freedom. We're saying, I value myself enough to no longer live by this old story. Now, if you ask these questions and you decide you want to continue to believe that thought, you can, but it gives you the freedom to be at choice. We don't have to live by the old stories. And another thing that we can afford to say no to is old emotional habits. We may have reactions that kick in before we even notice. Maybe it's worry, or people-pleasing, or guilt, or just shutting down. But when you feel one of those patterns rising, and you pause, and you breathe, and you think about it, and you may choose something else, that's self-respect in action. Now, you're not ignoring your feelings, you're just not letting them run the show. And that's a really important thing for us all to learn to do. So 2 techniques which I've mentioned in a previous episode and 2 that I really love to use myself are HeartMath and EFT, or Emotional Freedom Techniques. HeartMath helps me return to balance. So when we're feeling a little unsettled or just anxious, you can breathe into your heart and just imagine that your heart is expanding and contracting with every breath, just for a few breaths, and then bring up something that you feel grateful for. And when you do, your body settles in, and you can feel like, I'm now coming home to myself again. That's something that you can do when you just have a couple of minutes, and it's a very loving choice for you when you find yourself in an old emotional pattern. And another one that I like to use is called EFT, or tapping. And in this process, you don't resist what you're feeling, but you tap through it. You tap on these acupressure points while you are saying or feeling the old feeling that you're ready to let go of. And it helps that feeling to soften and to move on. And each round of tapping is me saying yes, saying I honor what I feel and I choose peace. Now, I will leave links in the description below so that you can get a little more information about how to do the tapping process and also the HeartMath and Byron Katie's work. So then we can say no to all these distractions in our world. Our world is so full of things that pull at us. Our screens, our updates, our notifications, and then comparison of one thing with another, and noise. But every time I say no to these distractions, I say yes to something deeper inside me. I say yes to feeling quiet inside. Maybe it's yes to my garden. Yes to taking us some quiet breaths. Yes to actually living my real life. It's not deprivation. It's choosing what nourishes me. And that's a form of love. One more thing to talk about is to let go and to say no, the need to control. This is a really big one. There's a part of us that wants certainty. We want control. We want guarantees. And this feeling can be very loud in us. But the more we try to grip life and control it, the more we're likely to miss its beauty. So saying no to that control is saying yes to trust, yes to flow, yes to even dancing with the unknown. So that's how we respect life, not by micromanaging it, but by learning to receive it. And every no in this kind of context is a turning point in our life. So imagine our lives are like a forest that has paths running through it. And there are trails through this forest that we've walked 1,000 times. Old patterns, old beliefs, old habits. But one day, we may notice, we may pause, we may see where the path leads. And maybe it doesn't lead in the direction that we want to end up. We can notice, we can breathe, and we can say no. And in that moment, we turn and we begin a new path. That moment is when we're saying a sacred yes. So I invite you to ask yourself, nicely and gently, where in your life are you being called to say no? Not out of fear, but out of love. Where have you been saying yes to something that drains you, when what you really want is to honor yourself? Your life is a gift, and saying no to what doesn't reflect who you truly are is how you say yes to the life that does. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.